Most whiskey reviews judged on like the first dram or the first pour. Some people call this the neck pour. And I actually think that might be the worst time to judge whiskey. I think the best time is when you finish the bottle, when you've sat with it over time, with friends, in different kind of circumstances. That's when you can give a much more complete review of a whiskey. So rather than just doing a single review, I'm going to review a lot of whiskies in this, and it's the rebuy test. Should you stock them, buy them, try them, or maybe even bin them? And I'm also going to talk about some of the bottles I've also bought recently. So the whiskies that have come in, so not just the whiskies that have gone out, but the whiskies that have come in and why I've bought them, and kind of like make a prediction about how I think it's going to go. So if that interests you, come on in, get yourself comfy, and let's jump to the first bottle that is ready for the rebuy test. Okay, so the first bottle on this list is from a distillery which I'd say is more well known for their smoky releases. When I did a video on I got sort of the community to vote what their best heated Islay whiskey was. It was from this distillery. That was the Port Charlotte 10. However, I was recently going through an airport and this was an absolute bargain. I don't know, maybe they couldn't sell it or they're trying to get rid of stock, but this might be the cheapest, best value bottle I have got, and it is the Bruichladdich 8. So I got this for only $69 New Zealand from airport. Normally airports are kind of a little bit overpriced. I find, they're supposed to be duty free, but then often if I just go into an online retailer, I can often get it for cheaper, but this was the exception to the rule. I enjoyed this whiskey. One of the best, probably value whiskies I've ever bought. I don't know if I'd be able to do it again. It could have just been a sale. It's bottled at 50%. It's unpeated. It's not like the Port Charlotte, but it still had that kind of salty, it wasn't too sweet, but still very spirit forward, ex-bourbon cask, fruity. So this meets the rebuy test. In fact, I think if I see it again, I'll even stock it. Just a quick note, I'm basing the categories, I've stolen them from the Unfiltered podcast, how they group it. I was going to give it out of 10 rating, but I think this being the rebuy test, because it's so subjective, that might be the best way to do it. Should you buy a whiskey? Also kind of based off recycled reviews, which Roy does. He also believes that the best time to judge a bottle is when you finish it. And so if you haven't checked out either of those channels, links in the description. And let's now jump to a whiskey I've bought. We'll alternate between buying and finishing. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I'm fussy about quality over quantity. There's a few things that are worth reaching for again and again rather than a bunch of stuff you'll never touch. It's how I think about whiskey, but it's also the same with what I wear on camera, which is why Into the AM made sense for this one. These graphic tees are actually hand-drawn by real illustrators, the same as the Flavour map. I'm a big fan of non-AI paying real illustrators, and it's the sort of detail you only clock when there's genuine craft behind it. The basics finally fit through the shoulders and arms without feeling painted on. And I basically lived in this one the last few weeks, and this one was the one that had the sort of design that actually caught my eye. So if you fancy a look, the link's down in the description. It's pinned to the top of the comments. Go to intotheam.com/firstfill. Have a browse, see what catches your eye, and back to the whiskey. So this whiskey has been on my list for the longest time. It's done very well with enthusiasts in the online Scotch Whisky Awards. It's a blended whiskey and one I've missed out a few times, and I saw it recently and I was like, look, I gotta pull the trigger on it. I gotta get it. And honestly, it's so far from the neck pour, it's fantastic stuff. It is the Campbeltown Loch. This is delicious juice. It's a blend of single malt whiskies from Campbeltown, so think Springbank, Kilkerran, and it's got that big sort of heavy oiliness that a lot of you will know from those whiskies, but it also comes at a really good price point, and I can see why people go on and on about this whiskey, and I'm just kind of late to the party a bit. But as the neck pour, I just talked about how we shouldn't review things on the neck pour, but this one, I did have a few drams and already it's oh man, it's heavy, it's malty, there's fruit, there's cereal, and there's a bit of that funk from the flavour tree, that heavy funk, sulphur, industrial. It's good. This is looking good. It's looking good so far. I'll be interested to see how it goes as I get through it. Have you guys tried this? Have you bought this? Any of you finished the bottle? What's your consensus? Keen to know, but that's one that has come in. Now let's jump to another bottle of finished and whether I should rebuy it. Okay, now we get into two bottles that could be controversial. I know some of you might not like this. I'm known for drinking single malts, but I have explored bourbon and rye in recent years, and these two are from the same distillery. They're not huge ABV whiskies, and one is the bourbon, it's the Michter's American whiskey, and the other is the straight rye. If I had to choose, I'd probably choose the rye, but I have found what was quite interesting is my wife, who doesn't really drink a lot of whiskey, she really enjoyed this one. So look, in the category, would I stock it, buy it, good I tried it, but not for me, or would I bin it? I think it's probably in that, like, it's good I tried it. I think I'd probably next buy a Michter's that takes it up a level. If you want something that's a little bit more complex, that's a bourbon, that also won't be too burny, you won't feel bad about putting it in a cocktail, I think this works well. And with the rye as well, this probably for me is a buy. I think I really enjoyed this rye. It's 42.4%, so look, it's not a massive ABV whiskey, but I've been drinking more rye recently, and for me that's a buy. Okay, now we're going into the whiskey in, whiskeys that are new to the shelves, and this is from a distillery that I had a lot of. It's honestly one of my favorite distilleries. It was probably the most popular distillery that I talked about on my channel. Also very popular in the online Scotch Whisky Awards, but recently I probably haven't picked up as many bottles, I guess because it almost felt cliche how good this distillery is, and you know, I wanted to try the weird stuff, the different stuff. Look, I keep coming back to this distillery and I missed it when it wasn't on the shelf. So I was gonna pick up the classic kind of 10-year-old whiskey, and that is gonna be the Arran 10 Arran barley. So what they say about this actually is barley that's grown at the south end of the Isle of Arran, which is an island. So it's an island whiskey off the coast of Scotland, and they grow the barley there, which is really cool. I love it when distilleries explore like stuff around them. You know, this is why I'm such a big fan of world whiskey, because I think whiskey changes when it's using ingredients that are local to them, even if it's the same ingredients, like it's barley and it's the water and it's the casks, and it's going to be different because of the climate, the temperature, and all sorts of things. It still feels like the 10-year-old, and it's also bottled at 50%. So I believe this is a limited release, and I'm enjoying it so far, but it'll be interesting to see how I think this compares to the Arran 10 overall, which I've had a lot of experience with. I love great sort of fruit and floral, big basket of fruit type whiskey. I'm keen to explore it, keen to see how it goes. I also picked up this from their signature series, which they do like kind of different releases. This one is edition 3 of the Douro Discovery, which is aged in Spanish, first fill Spanish red wine cask and bourbon barrels. It's more rich, there's more kind of like those darker notes, not so much like the basket of like white fruits as the basket of red fruit. And it's a 12-year-old. I'm enjoying it so far, the neck pour, but I do feel like this is one that gets better as it opens up, just from the few kind of glasses I've had. Yeah, I'm still exploring this, so it'll be interesting to see if that will be added to the rebuy list. But let's get to the next empty bottle where I can probably give a better judgment. The first in this list is something that I wanted for a long time. I talked about it in one of my old videos about like the whiskies I want to buy the most. The one that people talked about at the time was the sherry cask one, but honestly I found the bourbon cask one way better. This one's 55.6%. It's from Campbeltown. It's an 8-year-old. It's called the Kilkerran 8. Bourbon cask matured, and honestly I had a mate visit recently and we tried a lot of drams. Like, he was here for several nights and we had a few different things, and I let him sort of, you know, whatever you want to try, and it made me sort of like reflect on it that actually this is a really good whiskey. It's 55.6%. you can water it down if you like. It's just so much flavor, and it has kind of like this pineapple note, almost like a tropical note. It's almost over ripened or something, or like sort of canned pineapples in like a good way. Really good. Is there any left? Even those few drops, so good. Amazing whiskey, amazing. All right, let's jump to another whiskey I've picked up recently. This one's kind of changed my view on whiskey quite a lot, what this distillery's doing, because I was just honestly super curious. Look, there's not many distilleries out there that do kind of the main whiskey grains. So what I'm saying is like whiskeys that are predominantly corn, predominantly rye, but also single malt, barley. There's very few distilleries in the world that do all three, and this one does. It's kind of halfway between bourbon and single malt, even though it's just a single malt, and it's the Jack Daniel's single malt. So that's why I was so curious. I was like, interesting, it's a single malt from Jack Daniel's. So I imagine they're using like the charred barrel process of Jack Daniels, but using malt. You know, how much do I recognize from typical, you know, corn forward Tennessee Jack Daniels, you know, your single barrel stuff, and the single malt. And what I find really interesting is there is a lot of similarities. There's that syrupy sweetness, that maple syrup, that little bit of banana. It's sweet, very sweet. It almost has a candy sweetness like a red licorice, which I'd say overall is sweeter than probably most single malts. Different to like some of the super sweet sherried whiskies, like the Pix ones. I'm super curious to see where I get to when I finish this bottle, but have any of you tried it? It is a little bit on the pricey side, I will say. And I think for me, I could only get it in airports. Look, I am whiskey curious. I'm not bound. If there's good world whiskey, if there's good bourbon, if there's good scotch, I'm keen to give it a go. I'm keen to try it. Obviously, I have my preferences, but I'm willing for those preferences to be changed. And so a Jack Daniels single malt, especially for Kiwis or Australians who might have like presuppositions about what Jack Daniels is super interesting. Yeah, let's jump to another whiskey out for the Rebuy Test. An empty bottle I'm very, very sad about. And this one is some of the best juice I've had in my life. This one is a distillery that makes amazing whiskey. I feel like in recent times they're going a little bit more towards the premiumization route, which is a shame. You know, it's getting very expensive, but it is very good stuff. Sort of on record, Daniel Whittington from the Whiskey Vault has talked about this, you know, when he's been asked like if he could have one single malt or his favorite single malt, he has talked about this distillery a lot. And I was very lucky because one of my Patreons sent me the green bottling one that they got in auction. Yeah, that was very generous. Thank you, Laurent, for sending that over. But I also managed to get hold of the same bottle in the purple bottling, which was also fantastic, really good stuff. And it is the Longmorn 16. I'm really sad they're not making this anymore. I think there's an 18-year-old version they do, which is more expensive than what I got this for. So would I buy this again? Definitely. If I saw this again, I would buy it again. Would I stock it? I don't think I have the budget to stock something like this, because I think these days it's going to be so expensive, and I don't know if I'm going to go out and buy the 18. It adds a few things that bring it into that sort of gift category, the premium category, like your Glenmorangie Signets or your older scotches, without sort of being like ridiculous and gimmicky. Non-chill filtered, 48%, 16-year-old, you know, kind of like what the Johnny Walker Blue does, but I think this does a lot better. This is just a premium, super tasty whiskey, but I'm not going to be able to buy another bottle, so that's a bit of an issue. Anyone's welcome to send me another one, but yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to buy the 18. It's quite a lot. Maybe I should. Should I? Leave a comment. Okay, so there's a lot of bottles in my collection that are basically nearly empty. And I think a big reason I don't finish them is because I run this channel for you and I want to talk about whiskeys. I want to hold a bottle and talk about it with you. But there are a few bottles out there, like the last one, the Longmorn 16, that are so good, I can't help but finish it. When there's a moment and there's good friends coming over and I want to pour them some of the best whiskey I can. I often talk about in Scotch, like single malt, the sweet spot for age statements, because I often find like 20, 30, 40-year-olds, there's like diminishing returns. You're paying like quadruple the price and it might be 10% tastier than, say, the 15-year-old. For some reason, I feel like it's a little bit underrated amongst whiskey enthusiasts and even other whiskey YouTube channels. And it's going to be the Balblair 15. It was my whiskey of the year a few years ago. It's a mix similar to the Longmorn. It's just a really good classic Scotch. It's a mix of ex-bourbon cask, sherry cask, 46%, unchill filtered natural colour. And I really enjoyed this. It's a bit nicer than your average enthusiast bottle. You want to spend a little bit more, go a little bit more premium. This is one of the ones I recommend the most. So definitely a rebuy. Okay, and now back to the video. Okay, now we're getting on to the final whiskey, which both was a whiskey I've bought and finished. Before I get to it, this concept of a video is actually something I do every month on Patreon, and I've been doing it just a lot more casual and probably longer and extended than this. There is a version of this video which will be a bit longer and extended on Patreon right now. If you want more content from the channel and you want to support my channel and that sort of thing, yeah, jump over to Patreon. That's where it's at. But yeah, let's jump to this bottle. For those of you who follow the channel, I mean, it's probably not going to be a big surprise. It's a whiskey from Speyside. It's cask strength. It's heavy and funky, but also kind of refined at the same time. And I finished the bottle of the Benromach cask strength. This one is 60.6%. I think it's a 9 or 10-year-old. And fantastic stuff. I love Benromach. We're going into winter now in New Zealand, and I just love it that when I finished it, I was like, oh no. And so, yeah, I got another bottle. It feels like one that's always on the shelf. So I'd love to hear from you what bottles that you instantly rebuy, that you know, when they run out, you want to replace them. So let me know down in the comments. And yeah, give the video a like, hit subscribe. And if you want to see more videos in this format, join me on Patreon. I do this once a month. But above all, good to have you here. Make sure you explore, share, and enjoy. Beauty. Oh, you're still here. Before you head off, make sure you head into the AM link. It's in the description as a pinned comment. Into the am.com/firstphil. And if any of those designs caught your eye, you know, that's where you find them. See you in the next one. Beauty.